Weekend Warriors Home Improvement Show, built by Par Lumber. When it comes to big or small projects around the home, Tony and Corey have got the know-how and the answers to make your life just a bit easier. Here they are, your Weekend Warriors, Tony and Corey.
Hey, welcome to the Weekend Warriors Home Improvement Show podcast. I'm Corey Valdez.
And I'm Tony Cookston.
And we're sitting here at Par Lumber in Prineville, Oregon for a special event today. We've got a barbecue going on. We just built some really cool sawhorses over there out of some TJIs. And we've got a special guest sitting with us right here. His name is Mike Bagley with Truss Joist by Weyerhaeuser. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for the invite today.
Yeah, so TJIs are probably one of the biggest building materials in the world.
Most widely used, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in the structural frame for the floor, our I-joist is it's a very common product that goes into the house to give yourself a very nice floor.
Absolutely. And you guys were the pioneers in this world of TJIs. Let's talk a little bit about what TJI is. You know, what is it used for? What is it made out of? Let's try to talk a little bit about that. And that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different products out there that can be used. And we want to talk about the different products and what makes, essentially what makes truss joist I-joist, the choice. The right choice.
Yeah, you've seen products evolve from solid sawn lumber for the first floor to a post and beam floor. And what a TJI is an engineered floor truss, basically. It's an I-beam made out of our microlam product for the top and bottom flange and a OSB web in the middle of the joist. And it has an I shape to it. Comes in very long lengths, up to 60 foot. It's lightweight, easy for a single person to install it. It's engineered. It's very low moisture content, 4 to 6%, so you don't have it shrinking and twisting and bowing like lumber can.
There is so many really good reasons to use this product that are just better than what we've been doing for the last 100 years.
Yeah. Let's take a quick step back, though. And for the listeners that are maybe listening to this that aren't builders, you know, like if you talk to a contractor or a builder, they know what TJIs are. Most of the time they call them TGIs. I know you've heard that.
I've heard that, yes.
But if, you know, for the standard homeowner or person that's going out to build a house, maybe for the first time or they're just getting into construction, TJIs, you know, there's conventional lumber, which, like you said, rough sawn or 2x12, 2x10 net lumber. You know what I mean? It's sawed out of solid sawn wood. You know, you can get 4x8, 4x10. You see a lot of these sorts of systems built for your floor structure in your home. So you'll have a lower floor, and if you have a second floor, you have second floor joists, and that historically, before TJIs, was solid sawn lumber. There was a lot of problems with it. You know, you could only get it up to 20 to 25 feet, 24 feet, 26 feet maybe, but then your spans are a lot lower. So TJI came out, they invented this product that was I-joists. And the original one had steel webs, correct?
Yeah, the original one was a top and bottom cord of lumber and then steel pieces in a zigzag pattern that was an opening. And that was the first joist of 1960 when truss joist began.
And they invented that.
Invented the
Everybody's
joist.
seen those.
Right. And then more into the residential, it came in 1969, an actual wood web and a wood top and bottom flange. And then that allowed you to do not just like dimensional lumber, you're looking at a 2x8, a 2x10, 2x12. You've got deeper depths in the I-joist. You can get 16-inch, 18-inch, 20-inch deep.
Yeah, I've sold 24-inch deep I-joists that were, I mean, just absolutely massive. So the benefits to this is when you're building a house, you have a laser flat floor. If you've ever walked through a house that has conventional lumber for your main floor or for your second floor, you never know. It could be a little of this, a little of that, little wavy. I-joist, nothing.
Nothing.
And then you guys manufacture products like Microlam, which is LVL, Timber Strand,
yes,
which is LSL, and even a product called Paralam, PSL. And these things are built the exact same sizes. And when you order them, an 11 7/8 joist, it is 11 7/8. You know what I mean? 2x12 could be 11 1/4, 11
Depending on whether it was dry or green.
11 3/8,
Right.
11 inches. I mean, there are so much differences. A lot of people don't know that. And even crowning. We talked about that. We shot a video a little bit earlier today, and we were talking about crowning lumber. When you have 2x12s, you actually have to make sure that you install them with the bow up. Otherwise, you'll get that, uneven elevation in your floor system.
Right. Our products, there's no crown, it's no camber, so they're straight. There's no top or bottom, so they'll always be a straight member. And the TJIs, with those depths that you were saying, will match up to the beam products. So the LSL, Paralam, the TJI, they'll all match up in the depths.
The consistency at which this product is manufactured and comes to the job site makes me think about the sustainability of using this product versus solid sawn lumber. The solid sawn lumber is not as sustainable as it once was. The trees that we're growing, we have to harvest them more often, which means they don't get to be as big. So we're cutting them down smaller. Smaller, shorter pieces of wood are yielded instead of bigger, longer pieces of wood, which is what we needed when we were running, 42 feet or whatever with a beam. You just can't do it. Sustainably, solid sawn lumber was not the way it was going to be. Instead, you guys are able to use kind of like fall down, right? Like pieces and parts of other things made with wood.
So we were talking about timber strand, LSL. It's made out of poplar and aspen. So here in Oregon, you head out the gorge and you see those big stands of poplar trees that they make paper pulp out of.
Yeah.
That's what timber strand. You're using strands out of a weed species tree that grows fast, can replant it, and it's not really used for anything else except for pulp. But we make one of our strongest beams in shear that allows you to put even large holes in a beam, where most people get really leery about putting a hole through a structural beam.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's so strong.
Yeah, it's like Tony said, when you order up a 6x12 these days, there's going to be weighing on it.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be cracking and checking. There's going to be crowns in it. There's going to be bark on it, probably. To be honest, I've seen so many pieces of lumber come out of the lumber yard with bark on them because the trees are just getting so small. So to be able to take a tree that you can't make anything significant out of it in size,
right,
and make a beam that's 5.5 inches by 16 inches tall that'll span so long, it's pretty amazing.
It is.
You go out there to get those solid sawn beams and it has these imperfections and you say, man, it needs to be nicer. And they say, well, industry standard. That's what they say.
Yeah.
It's industry standard. When industry standard used to be, it had to be clear. It had to have 4 good sides. It had to be straight and true.
It had to have no twists in it.
And the industry standard is going like this, which is why engineered wood that produces the exact same quality and structurability in the product every single time is the only way we can move forward.
You might hear this term, EWP. We use that term all the time at Par Lumber Company. And some people are like, what is EWP? It stands for Engineered Wood Products. Tony just said it, engineered. They have taken wood that
fiber
is basically useless, put resin and glue to it, put it in presses, and have made it stronger than any solid sawn wood that you can buy. Stronger, straighter,
stabler,
longer, more stable. It's pretty awesome.
No. Stabler.
Stabler?
Yeah, stabler.
Did you make that up? Tony makes words up.
I do.
I don't know if you knew that.
It made sense to you, though. Even though it didn't come from the dictionary, it still made sense to you.
More stable.
We were talking earlier about things that you can do when you have a product like this that's intended for use, in the building of a home. That's why you make it. And yet here it is, capable of doing so many other things that you would build out of something that's solid. You guys built sawhorses earlier before we started to shoot this video podcast. And you made it out of what would otherwise just be scraps on a job site, a couple of lengths of I-joist and some of this timber strand.
And it's actually timber strand wall framing. So
timber
it matches
strand wall framing.
regular dimensional lumber, 1.5 by 3.5, and
Yeah.
it worked great for our sawhorse legs.
We made these sawhorses, and we literally threw a 3,000-pound unit of edge gold floor decking, which you guys also make, on top of these sawhorses, and we were a little like,
leery.
oh man,
But not Mike.
going to hold?
Mike's like, it's fine. It's fine. Corey and I are like, I'm going to back up a little bit. Mike's like, it's fine. It's going to be fine. So, I mean, it's not like we had engineered sets of plans for this. This was a rudimentary build that just exemplifies the strength of the product. I mean, 3,000 pounds of sheet goods that were just, slapped up on top of these two sawhorses, and it turned out really, really good. This is what I was thinking about, Mike, when you mentioned that this is wall framing material, timber strand wall framing material, and then you said it doesn't shrink, it doesn't crack, it doesn't bow, twist, cup, it doesn't do all those things. All those things that solid sawn studs do, and we're still sell a lot of solid sawn studs, right?
Yes.
Probably, I mean, it's
Absolutely.
the number one product used, right?
Yeah.
And we have learned to just deal with the fact that when you frame a wall out of solid sawn studs, you get warps and waves, and you called them wowies.
Wowies. My first framer lesson was it's every wall has a wowie.
Every wall has a wowie.
What's a wowie is this wind. Holy moly.
You go to you've just built your house and you've got this long wall, and you go to push a table up against it, and it hits in the middle and not at either side. It's just rock because you've got a big wowie in the wall.
Well, we talked about in the I did my bathroom, and we tiled all the walls, and it was a nightmare because we had to sit and shim the walls because we did floor to ceiling tile on a couple of the walls, and it was crazy the amount of work that we had to put in to get those walls to be flat versus if we would have just used timber strand.
But had a perfect wall. We like to call it zone framing. So let's say you're doing a remodel in your kitchen. It's the perfect spot. You have a 10-foot wall. You're going to put cabinets up against the wall. It helps you so you don't have to shim the cabinets. And when you're talking about when a homeowner's thinking price-wise, what do I need to think about if I want to use these studs in my house? You don't need to frame the whole stud. Pick a zone if you're doing, bookcases, beautiful cabinets, kitchen cabinets, slate on the wall. A 10-foot wall, it's typically about $100 more for that 10-foot wall if you wanted to go all engineered framing.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty small investment if you want to have perfect cabinets and help your cabinet installer be pretty happy when he doesn't have to shim everything out.
Absolutely.
I think it's a no-brainer for me, to be able to buy lumber that is square, flat, true, for as long as you want it. You see a lot of what we call tall walls or balloon framing in modern construction, like in a stairway. You walk into a house, they've got a stairway that studs go from floor to ceiling, some 2-story, 22-foot tall wall. Well, if you don't use timber strand, that thing could be
all over the place.
Wavy gravy.
Yeah.
Or on your tall wall, you said when it goes together, you have a hinging point where now you can use a solid piece. We have it up to 48 feet in length, and it can be cut to whatever size you need.
Absolutely incredible.
When I think about the iJoist, I remember back to commercials that I saw on TV a long time ago. They called it the new silent floor system, and they had an elephant walking across the iJoist floor.
You remember those?
Yeah, I remember this commercial. I don't know how long ago that was, but I'm sure I'm dating myself.
Started in the 90s doing the silent floor went to microlam flanges. So we went away from the wood flanges and wood web and moved to a microlam or an LVL flange in our Performance Plus OSB for the web material. And that was all part of the silent floor construction, where the gluing and the screwing, the material that the joist was made of, the edge gold that goes on top, and putting glue in the hangers. So just the whole assembly process, making a silent floor. That was great seeing the elephant walk. Remember right, that elephant's name was Laura.
Laura
the elephant.
That's awesome. Just a dollop, though, right? Just a
dollop
of glue
in the joist hanger.
In the joist hanger.
Yeah.
When my house was framed, I had living in a Adair home, and I got to be actively involved in the framing of the house, there and see it, took pictures and stuff. But I remember when he was putting the joists in, they were dropping a little dollop of construction adhesive in the bottom of each of those hangers, and I asked him about that, and he goes, reduces the squeaks or removes the squeaks, or it's part of the system, the way that it's installed to make sure that your floor doesn't squeak.
Right.
and I thought that was a very cool thing. Since I-joist and truss joist is so popular, I think we determined that maybe a small percentage of builders are still using post and beam. Corey, what would you say that might be? What percentage maybe of builders are still using post and beam?
Yeah, before the show, Mike actually said 10%. I probably agree with that. I still see occasional post and beam, traditional post and beams, where they'll use 4x8 or 4x10 beams on posts and piers, and I still see it. And it's funny because I don't even know why, because when you cost average it out, it's almost no difference between using TJI and using solid sawn lumber. But the funny thing is these guys will use solid sawed lumber and then use edge gold
on top of the
Weyerhaeuser edge gold
floor.
on top of it, which is a really stiff structural floor decking made from the same sort of material. It looks like OSB, but it is stronger. The glue in it is, I mean, you don't have to sand it if it gets wet. It's pretty amazing stuff.
So tell me this then. What product out there, if it's not solid sawn joist and it's not post and beam, what does TJI compete with?
Sure. There are other manufacturers that manufacture I-joists like we do. Some of them right here in Oregon. There's quite a few. Right now, there was a change in the energy code for Oregon in 2018. So if you have a 2-story house, your HVAC, you probably remember seeing soffits that hang down off of the ceiling so the pipe can go through and try to hide it so you don't see a big ugly ducting running through the house. So the energy code changed where that needs to be in that second floor. So that's where you've seen now more open web joists out there that are assembled 2x4s or a plated truss. They're called that too. Metal plates. Looks like your roof trusses, but just for a floor.
Interesting.
Floor depth. And they're typically 14, 16, 20 inches deep. So they can do long spans also, but gives you somewhere to run the ducting and your wiring through.
There's one difference, though, about open webs. I sell a lot of open webs. I sell a lot of TJIs. And the one thing I will say is that open webs are great for certain applications. But once you order them the length that they are, and that's what you get. There's no changing in the field.
Oh, I see.
If you move a beam over 6 inches this way or 6 inches that way, which sometimes happens, you have to order new joists because they no longer work for that space. You cannot modify them in any way.
Oh, interesting.
The other thing about open webs is they don't come with a warranty. TJI, the whole system,
lifetime warranty of the house.
Lifetime warranty on those products.
Wow.
So it's kind of up to you as a builder or a homeowner how you want to move forward. If you have an issue down the road with open webs, you're kind of dealing with that yourself.
Wow.
So
yeah, I guess it makes sense because the webbing in open webs is metal, right? It's not like you can just trim part of it off. Yours can be cut anywhere, right?
Right. And the great thing, I understand why people like open web. You got spaces to put your plumbing and your ducting. But in our TJIs, you can put holes throughout the joist. And there's pretty simple rules to follow. You can remove the whole web material in between the flanges. Some of our joist series, we have different series that will handle different depths and spans and lengths. And some of our higher series, our 360 and 560 series, you can put a 24-inch hole in the center span of the joist. You can cut the whole web out 24 inches and run a nice big HVAC trunk line right through the joist.
And it's just as strong as it was before.
Just as strong.
it's pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
I was going to talk about that earlier with the depth.
Very versatile.
Mm-hmm.
The deeper the joist that you get, you can make these big holes in there that, yeah, like you said, you could just cut big holes out and then run the ducting through, electrical, whatever you want. One of the other benefits, too, is that with the I-joist, they come with these pre-punched holes.
Yeah.
And they're like knockouts. You hit with your hammer.
Yeah.
And so electricians, they don't have to get a hole saw to
Just
cut
knock
through
those
any
out.
sort of saw. They don't have to get a bit or anything. Whole hog, you've seen. They just hit them with a hammer, knock them out, run their wire.
Yeah.
Or plumbing, for that fact.
Yeah, that's
So-
a lot less work than having to drill, especially if you got those things on 16 or 24-inch centers, and they got to run wire from one side all the way to the other side. That's a lot of holes to drill. If they had to drill holes, but they just don't have to.
They make the apprentice do it.
Corey, you brought up a good point about if you needed to make a change. You can get a new joist the very next day.
Right.
Or if something's damaged on the joist, we have a great tech team that can help create a solution and a repair and do that quickly.
Yeah.
So that way we get that back to the field and the homeowner or the builder can get right back to work.
One of the other things we talked about earlier, one of the features you said is the length. You can buy I-joists, TJIs, up to 60 feet.
Wow.
You
can't even haul 60
That's the thing.
feet,
How are you going to haul them?
You can,
but we've got them that
can.
long.
You got to get an overlength permit for anything over 42 feet, right?
You get a permit. I've sold them that long.
We've taken them direct to jobs for you that long.
It just happens. Sometimes you get a situation where you want a 50-footer or a 55-footer because when you're, designing an underfloor in a house and the house is big and you want to span one joist, I mean, it won't span that far, but there's supports in between there. But when you want one joist to run from one of the house to the other, it makes it so much cleaner because you don't have any seams, you don't have any breaks, none of that. So you can get all 42-foot joists all the way down the whole house.
I feel like you'd have to hire like Burt Reynolds and the Burt Reynolds from Cannonball Run and have him like go out and draw all the police to one part of town while you leave the yard with 60 footers, so that you don't get,
They just put a,
seems like a big deal.
They just put a spotter out there. It's fine. red flag.
Yeah.
Just put a red flag on it. Stick 40 feet out of the back of your truck. It's cool.
Yeah. Wow,
But,
60 foot. That's big.
And then the last thing you mentioned was about the weight. You think about a 9.5 or an 11 7/8 inch I-joist, a 40-footer. Two guys can easily pick that up.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
Yep, absolutely.
If you had a 2x12, even a 2x12, the longest one I've ever seen was probably 30 feet.
Mm-hmm.
A 2x12 30-footer would be like max. And those weigh a ton. Absolutely a ton.
Yeah.
A joist is about half the weight of an open web truss.
So
wow.
Pretty amazing. I mean, the truss joist product, it was invented, took the world by storm. A lot of imitators out there, but you guys are the OG.
We're the beginning. We created the I-joist.
There is a lot of topics of conversation that we could be having here. We could be talking for, hours. We really do need to set up a follow-up to this show so that we can get in depth with Truss Joist's product line and talk about each of the different products, in depth, what it brings to the table, what makes it so good, all of the versatility of that product.
Yeah, you had mentioned earlier, too, about using truss joist products, EWP, in unconventional ways. We made some sawhorses today.
Right.
You brought with you a level.
Yeah, I have
made from timber strand.
A timber strand level. I like to call it the smallest beam we manufacture. So it's a masonry level, but made out of our timber strand product.
Oh yeah, there you go. Brian just handed it to us. If you want to go check out the YouTube channel, but yeah, truss joist level made out of timber strand. This is super cool.
Very cool.
Brought that. You can put that in your shop.
Yeah, thank you. Well, if you've ever been to REI uses Paralam pretty extensively in a lot of their buildings for stair treads. I've sold it to a lot of builders to use as stair treads. You take Paralam, which has a very unique look to it.
It is.
Has these long strands of wood, different colors, and they press it in with a press. And then what guys will do is they'll fill it with like clear epoxy and then polyurethane or whatever, or sand it flat. And they look absolutely stunning.
It is beautiful. It's our largest, strongest beam for very long spans, but the Doug fir veneer strips that it's made out of, like you were saying, pressed, microwaved together, made into big billets, makes a great exposed beam in a house where maybe people are just used to a resawn glue lamp beam. A Paralam makes a beautiful exposed beam inside a home.
Yeah, you can sand them nice and flat, clean them up.
A local brewery I like to go to that has a Paralam bar top that they did the filler. They did a blue filler in it and then clear epoxy over the top, and it just makes a beautiful piece of furniture. Not only a structural member in a home, but there's lots of other uses for it.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
That's Paralam.
My wife has got some some open shelving where we put the shelf brackets on the wall and then use Paralam for the, like a 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 or 5 1/4 by 7 1/4 Paralam right up there for shelving, just open shelving right on the wall. She loves it.
Very cool.
Loves it.
I want to know who
Very
came
cool.
up with the names. Microlam,
Paralam, Timber
Strand. Somebody sat around coming up with
creative
some
names.
They had some cool names.
Good names.
They're iconic.
Yep.
Yeah, no
Paralam.
question. They definitely are.
It's very cool. Well, Tony, what else you got?
I mean, I think.
You got any other questions
I
for Mike?
think Mike has answered most of my questions. I know that there's a lot of directions that we could go with this conversation, but we're limited on time today. But I definitely can tell you that we will be having Truss Joist by Weyerhaeuser on the show again, and we will talk more in depth about all of their expansive line of products that they sell, how they're used, and all the tips and tricks about those, how to install them and that sort of thing. That'll be a really good conversation.
I want to get maybe some little more technical too.
Mm-hmm.
Find a little bit more about how the engineering works. So,
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike Bagley.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
With Truss Joist by Weyerhaeuser for being on the show. It was really great. And thanks for showing us how to build those amazing sawhorses. That was
a lot of
super
fun.
cool.
Thank you for the invite.
all right. Yeah. Thanks for checking us out today. If you want to learn more, you can go to trussjoist.com. That's TRUSJOIST.com, trussjoist.com. Or you can go to Tony and I's website. It's www.homeshow@par.com. That's our email.
Email address.
weekendwarriors@par.com. Sorry. But we're also on YouTube, Instagram. We're at WW Home Show. So go check out our video if you want to check this one out. We're going to be uploading this to YouTube anytime. So anyway, thanks a lot for checking us out.
I hope you enjoyed the show. Have a great week.
Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons down below and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our new videos.
And check out the Weekend Warriors Home Improvement Show wherever you listen to your podcasts.
We'll see you next time.